Yes, greetings and the best of salutations, as I would like to say. Um, I always like to say greetings and the best of salutations due to the fact that I think the best of salutations is one of peace. Yes, uh, it's a beautiful day. I hear the birds um, chirping, and I have this experiencing this life on this plane of existence. Yes, and I'm always doing my best to move about. Yes, and thankful for the use of my limbs as well. Yes. Well, the this talk, if I call it, and what sparked it. I always like to say that which sparked anything, because it is a spark is a where there is a it is a a a a exiting out of from something, um, and therefore it is a takes on a form of deliverance. Yes. So and as I am delivering this particular of expression, I try to do it to the best of my ability. Yes, and in doing so from the best of my ability, I do so from the point of view of the best use of my faculties, because I realize that as we use the term humans, um, some will say spiritual beings or what have you, any term that you want to use. It is the use of we're all created equal. Is just the use of one's faculties, the use of one's faculties. Yes, and as I was um looking at and not revising, but re-editing a a piece of work that that I have compiled together through through reading and writing and through observation and through research, and as well as my personal experiences. It was a put together in what is called a book form, overcoming being mentally enslaved, encaged, and enraged, a personal quest of finding resolve into complete civility. Because for me, the personal quest is complete civility, to be civil and toward um, uh, even in my civil in my thinking and in my behavior and in in my mannerism in the best of ways. And when I think of the term best itself, I think of something from ancient Kemet. Always, the God is best to protect the women and children, and that has something to do with the future, the posterity. Um, we know that children are the extension of their parents' social relationships. Um, I can't say we know, but I've come to know that because I represent no one. If I represent is my vibe and the frequency of my vibe. I'm not a dogmatic person, really, to any religious adhering to any religious um dogma or doctrine. In fact, someone said that doctrine is not the objective of your faith. Faith is that which makes you become should make you become very rational, as opposed to being irrational because of a common occurrences. Yes, that keep occurring. You have faith in that. Needless to say, be careful in that, because 99 or 98 to 99% of the time, things could occur in the manner and way in which they do, and somehow or another it may not happen that way. And I reason why I cite those things, because I apply it to humans, because humans think that they are beyond reproach. They think that they have a monopoly on intelligence, and no one has a monopoly on intelligence. Yes. Because due to the fact you can be right 98% of the time, if I may use that, but 2% of the time you may be wrong. So the 2% that someone comes to correct your wrong, you become, very emotional, charged with that, as if you are beyond reproach. And what it does is we have to be careful is not to create a hate psychosis. Yes, and the hate psychosis is also created in regards to social comparisons. When people have much, while the rest have little. Now, I've learned that your mood is your your personality. The weather is your personality, and the mood is your climate. Yeah. And we look at the climate, and I want to say that we do have the power as humans to reflect and have power over the talking about the climate. And how do I say that? I mean the vibe and the energy that he or she gives off. Yes. And a lot of times we can become accustomed to certain things and to certain ways. And that which you become accustomed to, certain things in certain ways, it becomes a way of life, you see. And that which becomes a way of life, once again, you become accustomed to it. So what we want to deal with today, again, when I said again, is to gain, really, is to gain competence. And how do you gain competence? Is to, as I've come to learn to know, is to be patient. Be patient. When you're patient, you become, it puts you at an advantage. Yes, it puts you at an advantage. Yes. Because if you look at the this evolutionary process of transformation or creation, in this perfect expression, the universe creation for me is a perfect expression, but it is a emotion. The universe is an emotion. Yes. And we say, well, how does the universe have? It's not human. Well, hue is a hearing out. It's a hewing out. And what is it is a hewing out of elements and energy, or matter, that has transformed into an explosion, And in that explosion, it is a beautiful expression. It is a beautiful expression of an emotion. Yes, it is a beautiful expression, because the first law of the universe is motion. Before any motion to take place, it must first have sound. So When you talk about sound, you're talking about personality. Huh? Yes. A personality. The weather. Whether I do this, whether I do that. But it's the personality, because the word personality or person is a sound, and that which through sound is made. Huh? And it is the voice. It is the voice. It also represents a aura, a persona, or a aura. Yes. So if anything that is to be worshipped and appreciated is creation itself. Yes, because it is a perfect expression. Yes, it is a perfect expression. In that perfect expression, we see, we look at the trees, and we look at how the seasons change from winter to fall or what have you, and it changes, and it goes into the earth, or it reclines, and then it inclines, or it leaves, and then it comes back. It comes back, always come back what? Anew. It comes back anew to revive, to refresh, to revigorate. It is revigorating. It should revigorate the climate, the personality, or the weather, or the mentality. The mentality of the people needs to be revived and revigorate, and we need to continue to make a connection with nature, because nature does that to us. It revives us. It revigorates us. Yes, when you go to the doctor wants to know what your vital signs is. And he goes to the vital signs, and he say, well, where did you grow up in? And if there is a health problem, he say, I see. It is the environment in which you were grown up in. So we want to go back to this, continue to deal with that, the point of of being competent. Yes, of being competent, and how we can reflect and control the environment in which we live, based upon our vibes, our vibration. So that's why you need to get around people who have similar vibes, who have the similar frequency that you can tap into. And in that vibe and in that frequency, you will know from which you have awakened to, then you know what you derive from, and that be peace. Yes, that be peace. So we are not a threat to one another. Now, as I was saying about the book that I has written, the manuscript that I compiled together, I was getting to a chapter where to do with a statement. Yes, and I was going to add some things in that when it came to that particular chapter, which that deals with statement. And I was looking at something that Lerone Bennett talked about in a book, an excerpt that was used from him in a book about a statement. He was talking about the meaning of history for. He was talking about like white Americans. He was talking about it was something that was an excerpt that was taken out from Lerone Bennett, a book that was written by Dorothy Blake. Faradon, PhD. It's called Yaku and the Origins of the White Supremacy Message to the White Man or White Woman in America. Now, we know that anything black and white, we know that's a fallacy, that's a concept, or idea that someone had come up to and placed it on human beings. But this is what I like. And he was talking about this here. He said that Lerone Bennett says that we are by definition outsiders in the Western world. He further concludes that black people have a mission, a world historical mission by virtue of their historical situations. Bennett pleads for a comprehension of history as it becomes a tool, a strategy, a life endeavor intimately linked with the struggle for liberation. The history of men and women is a function of the meaning they give to history. For it is from their practical philosophies, it is from their frames of reference they use to judge events and leaders and movements that they get their level of hope and challenge. I don't think it can be said that history of European white Americans is a quest for meaning. It may be for some individual, Caucasian, but as a nation, a collective psychology, white American history is not a quest, but a statement. And that's what I want to stop at that point now. Is that in making a statement as opposed to finding meaning. It says in this book here, think not that I am come to destroy the law of the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Let's look at that now. It says think first. And remember that vision stems from the source of one's thinking. And this was, I think, Louis Farrakhan said, this is what Elijah Muhammad says. It says think. And we know, I've learned that every thought begins with a seed. Now, in that seed, it must be planted in soil. That soil must be cultivated. It must be nurtured. We want to raise the light of peace, not raising the darkness of threat to one another, to the injury and the total well-being of one another. We don't want to be raised that way. So now we're in a certain time in the society in which we live, which we come through this time, this point in our existence or human existence many times, is that we become accustomed to certain things. And once we become accustomed to certain things, and then when that way of life changes, and that which we have become accustomed to, and those who control, the key is those who control that which we have been accustomed to, will put us in that mentality, I should say, put us in a position that we are unable to really deal, to interact with one another in a manner, in a way in which we have become accustomed to, but yet by the outside influence of another. So we are at a point now where we must become tested. And this test is based upon our true intentions, our true sincerity, our true of rearing up or being raised, not by an outsider way of life, not by an outsider's mentality, but an insider of that which we have been raised from our ancestors and from the ancestors of their ancestors, or from the parents of our parents. That we're able to live in harmony and peace with one another, and that we can be at complete civility one with another in our interactions. Yes. It says, think not that I come to destroy. Come to destroy the law, and not come to destroy the law of the prophets. And I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. So there is an obligation now to build on that which we have inherited from our parents. And I'm not talking about that which outside influence that came in and affected how we interact and behave in our interaction with one another, and how we behave in our behavior one to another. I'm not talking about any outside influence. I'm talking about the manner and the way in which we interact with one another as people who are considered to be descendants of Africa. And I ain't talking about necessarily no geographical thing. I'm talking about whatever it is that's in your heart. Because the past is just a reference point. It's not a place of residence. I know I was taught to have respect and many of people who was taught to have a respect. And we know that prior to when you talk about in the 70s, we know that at one time we could keep our door open and we didn't worry about nobody coming in and really robbing or killing and all this other stuff that's going on now. But where all of this come from? Huh? It comes from the mentality of a people who consider themselves, some call them the Aryan people, that they were a people that were lonely. Huh? They were lonely. So they had this drive to be accepted. They had this drive for wealth and power because it somewhat satisfied their appetite. Huh? It was this appetite for greed, just to find a place of belonging, a place of acceptance, because they were living in isolation. So now many people who have been influenced of a darker hue, influenced by this mentality that we cannot be satisfied with the people whom we say that we love and who we see every day, whom we interact with as a family. We are not satisfied with being together one with another. So we have to come to this point in life that we have to be satisfied with who we are. We have to be satisfied with one for another and be respectful and be appreciative for the life that has been given to us by our parents. Not by way of the trinkets that has been given to us due to certain status, some financial gain that you have made in life. Those are external means. But the internal satisfaction is from within. And this is the fulfillment of the law, that we unite around that which has been that which is fulfilling from within, and that which has satisfied our soul. And that which has satisfied our soul is the respect and the honor and the dignity and the integrity that we have one for another. In doing so, we come into complete civility one with another.